Warm greetings to all on behalf of Water Resources Council of the Women Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which is abbreviated as WICCI WRC. I, Mansi Bhargava, welcome all of you to the session on Women Leaders, Leading Innovations for Change in the Water Sector. Let me start by expressing my gratitude to the team of the World Water Week for accepting our panel and to the UNDP CV Water Governance Facility team to support us fully to participate, with special mention to Panchali Saikia and Lotten Bhubendik. Lotten is here with us today to engage in the session. The Water Resources Council is one of the 1,200 international and national sectors within the WICCI. The WICCI is a national business chamber of women that boosts and builds women's entrepreneurship and businesses through greater engagement with governments, institutions, global trades, and networks to share a perspective on various endeavors and free platforms for women empowerment over the years. The WICCI has a collective strength of 500,000 members across 150 countries. WICCI is also supported by the global networks of All Ladies League, Women Economic Forum, and She-Economic. The Water Resource Council of the WICCI is a think tank which is built as a citizens collective, and it is currently constituted with 90 plus members. We are aiming to reach 100 very soon. It is aimed to influence water industry in all government, business, industry, and community activities to become water positive in their respective operations and to help others in their surroundings to do the same. The objective is also to influence youth and women to engage in the water endeavors and thereby increase the presence and participation of women in the sector. The idea of today's session is built on these very thoughts. So we are really focusing on women leadership, and it is drawn from the weak presence and participation of women in the water sector. The world stat shows that only 1 in 5 professionals in the water sector is a woman. India is even less than 20%, despite the fact that there are several women professionals undertaking exemplary work, as I come across through this council which we have formed. And that actually includes allied fields from water, such as resource management, gender, WASH, resilience, technology, and the list is endless. In the capacity of scientist, entrepreneur, educator, grassroots practitioners, activists, in today's session, we actually got them all together as constellation, I must say, of water experts. We have 3 sections in the panel today. Section 1 is on women leadership in science and technology and is moderated by Dr. Fauzia Tarannum. Section 2 is on women leadership in policy advocacy, stakeholder participation and communication, and is moderated by Dr. Swayam Prabha Das. Section 3 is by our youth panelist, Shivam Singh, and includes Q&A with the participants. To commence the panel discussion, we have Lotten Bhubendik from UNDP CV WGF, and Lotten works with the coordination of the whole program of water. So may I now invite Lotten to open the panel discussion with few words. Over to you, Lotten.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to give a quick introduction to the CV UNDP Water Governance Facility and our collaboration with the Water Resources Council. So the Water Governance Facility is a partnership between CV and UNDP. It acts as a knowledge hub on water governance and is part of the UNDP Water and Ocean Governance Program. We provide policy support and advice to countries and build the knowledge and capacities for improved water governance within governments and civil society, as well as among UN agencies. Water Governance Facility strives to create programs and opportunities to empower and strengthen the voices of those who are often left out of decision-making, and to help to highlight the important roles and contributions that various stakeholders can provide, including women, youth, and indigenous peoples. We also encourage several organizations and platforms to promote these cross-cutting issues. So, Water Governance Facility, we have supported UNDP India in the Women Water Champions initiative. And within this initiative, a compendium was published in 2021 to acknowledge and recognize the critical role of women in water conservation and management at grassroots level in India. So inspired by this work, the Water Resources Council of the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry reached out to CV last year for support on their ongoing initiative within the council. And since then, we have supported the council with proposal development Also, one of CV's gender champions participated in one of the council's webinars and shared her experience with the network. Yeah, and we're hoping to continue this collaboration and looking forward to the discussions today in this session. Yeah, so let's go over now to the first panel. Over to you.
Thank you, Lotten. So may I now invite Fawzia to take up the audience poll for our interactive session so that every one of you can engage with us. Over to you, Fawzia. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you very much, Mansi. And we have the QR code on your screen, but I would also request the audience to please go to the chat box, and there's a link there. You could also go to menti.com and you can type the code 64602677. And I request you to please take the poll. There are 2 questions, so I will be keeping the first question for the first 15 seconds. And then I would move on to the next question. So I would request all of you that if you could kindly go to menti.com and type the code 64602677, or you could directly click on the link in the chat box, and you could still share your response there. Okay, I'll wait for another maybe 5 seconds. I have 14 responses, so maybe a few more. Okay, now I move on to the next question. So may I request all of you, you can see the next question on your screen too? In the Menti, sorry, not on the screen, but in your Menti. Yeah. So I do see a lot of you polling. I will hold the question there for some more time, but thank you to those who have taken the poll. And if with the permission of Mansi, may I move on to the panel discussion now?
Yes, please. Over to you, Fawzia, for the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could stop the presentation and we can move on. Thank you. As stated by Mansi today, we see a large number of women leaders doing exemplary work at the grassroots level to bring about transformational change. Yet their representation in science and technology still remains very low, with only 12% of the members of national science academies being women. Today, I am joined by 3 eminent leaders working in the field of science and technology and science policy interface. Dr. Suresh Rohilla, Program Lead at International Water Association, Dr. Girija Bharat, Managing Director at New Gamma Consultants, and Dr. Nivedita Sahu, Principal Scientist at CSIR, Indian Institute of Chemical Technology. Thank you all of you for taking out time to join us today. So I would request the participants to keep typing their questions in the chat box. We would be taking the questions at the end of both the panel discussions, but please feel free to write your questions in the chat box. You could also write the name of the speaker to whom you would like to address the question. So I would now like to begin with Suresh, who has a long-standing experience in promoting inclusive and resilient water and sanitation management, and has worked at Center for Science and Technology in India for close to 12 years prior to joining International Water Association. Suresh, what are the specific challenges that hinder the representation of women in leadership roles in STEM fields within the water sector? Over to you.
Thanks, Fawzia, for the kind words in the introduction. I represent International Water Association, which is a global network of water and sanitation professionals. And I would like to highlight 4 or 5 key challenges. They are, before a woman enters into this sector or within the sector or on the job. And I would like to start with the first barrier is basically stereotyping the role of women. So, and this depends upon the social norms and the taboos attached to the particular tasks which basically a woman can do and should not do or should not. And this, I would like to qualify with a statement saying that it varies within the country and across countries. Like within, for example, in southern India, you would see that a profession like nursing has been associated to women, but in northern India, this may not happen. So similarly, across different countries, also there might be several social norms and culture. But also, other thing is that the timing of the work, what time it happens. So it usually that if the travel involves, if the job involves travel, so people, these are the social taboos that women should not take up this task because it involves a lot of travel or late night shifts. And other thing is basically, these are a couple of the stereotyping that what women should do and what women should not do. Other thing is within the job, when once they take up the job, there is a lack of mentorship, there is lack of leadership opportunities. It's a very unbalanced sector at the moment because it's dominated by men, and gender roles are attached to or seen as only a domestic labor. I would say I would just highlight these few points to start up with the discussion, and I look forward to hearing from other people.
Thank you very much, Suresh. I think you rightly pointed out that we have a preconceived notion about gender roles, and that sort of governs, what kind of roles we take up in the water sector. I would now move to Dr. Girja, who has been again working extensively in the science policy domain in the water and wastewater sector. Girja, in what ways can the science policy interface be strengthened to ensure greater inclusion of women's perspectives and expertise in decision-making processes related to water management and technology? Over to you, Girja.
Thanks, Fozia. Great question. We have seen that science-informed policies have stood the test of time. They have been robust and been very sustaining for a long time. The science policy interface can be strengthened by incorporating, emphasizing gendered dimensions in data collection and research, increasing women scientists and women leaders' engagement, and gender mainstreaming at all levels of policy making. Often we have seen at the top of the pyramid, it's very, very less representation by women, which actually doesn't help in the policy being a robust one and being informed, well informed. When developing water management policies and strategies, it is vital that specific gender issues of water users consider multiple uses of water, which is beyond domestic use, and socioeconomic and geographical diversity is taken care of. We have seen that women participation in programs within India and outside in water and sanitation sector have led to inclusivity, multi-stakeholder participation, multidisciplinarity, and interdisciplinary approach. This has also helped in better coordination, communication, time-bound implementation, sustainability, better impacts and outcomes of these initiatives. We have seen in case of Swachh Bharat Mission, be it Jal Jeevan Mission, or several other programs within India. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Girja. Yeah, we often assume that our policies are gender neutral, but sadly they still continue to be gender blind, and I'm sure science policy can definitely help a lot in bridging that gap. So I move on, and involvement of citizens in scientific research to increase scientific knowledge is being widely adopted for data collection and reporting of complex issues. So my next question goes to Dr. Nivedita, who is the principal scientist and has been working in a hardcore scientific institution, CSIR, in India. So Nivedita, how citizen science initiatives can help in engaging and enhancing women's leadership in science and technology within the water and wastewater sector? Over to you, Nivedita.
Thank you very much, Fozia, for giving me such an important topic, citizen science initiative. But before that, namaskaram to all of you. So citizen science initiative is an emerging topic and has been promoted by different government agencies, organizations in water and wastewater sector to provide inclusive platform for participations and more collaborations by women entirety. For example, Jal Jeevan Mission, a woman drive campaign that actually aims to empower women to lead water quality, surveillance through technologies. Similarly, that hence a research project which promotes citizen science initiative with a focus on the sustainable development goals to develop projects that tackles sustainable development goals related using crowdsourcing informations gathered or actions taken by a large number of women who are multitasking entirely actually. Similarly, as I represent from CSIR, which has been led by Women Director General, they have an exclusive program on Women Portal for Research Grant, which addresses to water challenges in the particular region. It promotes equitable access to opportunity and information skills and empower women to share knowledge, their ideas, and their viewpoints. As a whole, citizen science initiatives fosters a diverse and holistic approach to address challenges in women and water and wastewater sector and empowers women to pursue career in science and technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nivedita. You're absolutely right that citizen science really provides people an inclusive platform, and hence, it gives an opportunity to engage with women as well. Now that we have a brief context, of the issue, I would like to go back to Suresh and ask him about how do you think organizations and institutions can better support and promote women's career advancement in STEM fields, specifically in relation to water science and technology leadership. Over to you, Suresh.
Thanks, Fawzia, for coming back to me again. As I said, IWA is a global network for water and sanitation professionals. We have corporate members as well as individual members. And I will speak from the IWA's position that IWA has a strategy and a vision which endorses inclusivity as a core to achieve its purpose of being a balanced and a global network of professionals. That is first thing. Second thing is that IWA itself has elaborated, inclusive hiring process, job advertisements, and workplace policies. So this is the first thing to start. Then, we are ensuring an inclusive, gendered balance, and geographically represented advisory boards and task forces of all our programs. But then we also have a transparent criteria and a selection process of participants in the events and opportunities, such as the recently concluded, IWA Grundfos Youth Action for SDG 6 Fellowship, which featured a gender and regionally balanced representation of young water professionals. We also have been featuring, female leadership in the field through awards and recognitions such as IWA Gender Diversity Award, Gender Diversity and Water Award. We also provide, as an institution, equal access to capacity building opportunities to our staff and members. And we have been fostering the development and implementation of tools, training, and knowledge products through our signature events, such as the Gender Equality, Leadership, and Inclusion in Wash Sector workshop, which took place in Copenhagen during the IWA World Water Congress. Apart from that, the program which I lead is the Inclusive Water Sanitation Program, which uses all the IWA channels to support and provide, promote gender inclusion as a core cross-cutting element as a priority action for developing diversity, equality, and inclusion guidelines for IWA communities and engage with women and gender across the network. So I would stop here. These are some brief highlights of IWA's efforts in gender inclusion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Suresh. I also believe that the top level commitment, the top management commitment to gender inclusion perhaps helps the whole thing to trickle down and have policies which are perhaps gender inclusive. And also, I think, as you said, a lot of programs that you have been doing for women So maybe some bit of affirmative action is also required. Thanks, Suresh, for that wonderful initiative that you're taking in IWA. I would like to now move to Girija. Girija, again, has been a woman scientist. She's been working in science policy domain for a while. So Girija, are there specific mentorship or networking programs that have proven effective in empowering women in science and technology leadership positions? If so, what are the key elements of their success?
Thanks, Fauzia, for asking that question, because I myself have been greatly benefited by several of these mentorship programs and networking programs. My organization, Mugama Consultants, and in my personal capacity, I have been involved in many such platforms as a mentor to young and aspiring women. And my message to them has been, don't get stuck in the sticky bottom and leaky pipe syndrome. Unleash your potential, because we women have a great tendency to be happy with whatever is there at the bottom, so that not so much of responsibility is there at the workplace and we can focus on home. No, that is not the path forward. I keep telling them, if you're persistent, you will get it. And if you're consistent, you will keep it. There are several mentorship programs within India and outside. Gati is one. Gati is basically gender advancement for transforming institutions. Kiran is another one, which is knowledge involvement in research advancement through nurturing. There are several women scientist schemes and platforms like Indian Women Scientists Association and several other programs by IIM Bangalore, which I was part of, that is NSR Cell 10,000 Women Entrepreneurship Program, which was supported by Goldman Sachs. There is also the Niti Aayog's Women Entrepreneurship Platform, which is a great platform again, and huge mentoring opportunities there. IITs, ISB also has peer-to-peer learning exchanges and peer group discussion platforms to basically facilitate and demystify several jargons that hinder women's empowerment. Several initiatives have been taken by United Nations to establish this type of networks. The several of these international projects have a strong emphasis on gender equality, disability, social inclusion, that is JEDC, which contributes to gender mainstreaming. I hope I answered your question, Fauzia.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Girija. It's very encouraging to see that more and more organizations are sort of adopting gender inclusive policy and taking action for gender mainstreaming in their respective domain. So, and also I think a wonderful message that you have given is that for women themselves, that don't be content, you know, you should aim for the sky, because perseverance would pay sometime. Thank you very much. I move on to Dr. Nivedita now. And Nivedita, can you share a successful example of women leaders in STEAM fields within the water sector, given that you have been working in a scientific organization for a very long time, and how they have made a significant impact?
Thank you very much. Once again, coming back to me, of course, there are women, but number is few. But I have listed down some of the leading examples. One among them is you can check the cutting edge of Dr. Sahejwala, who has created revolutionary technology known as micro recycling, in which she has recovered precious metals and valuable elements from electronic waste, that is e-waste, such as water filtering components. Her work actually not only addresses the environmental issues, but also it helps to ensure that resources that are used effectively, that less discharge to the landfills also. Under her leadership, the research have expanded the scientific knowledge, while simultaneously it has helped in promoting the value of sustainability and resource efficiency in water and wastewater industries. Few more examples are also there, even in our CSIR, like Dr. Noor Afsan, Dr. Ramya Raman, Dr. Shalini, and any other organization like Dr. Subhanjali from BIS, Dr. Preeti Amritkar from Environ Care, and many other industries like Tata Trust, Reliance India. They are also having some leaders, women leaders are there who has similar mindset of having women leaders in STEM fields within water industries are comparatively less, but all these are actually, they possess creative talent to produce greener methods for treating water and more responsible method for disposing the waste things through or also this technological threats. These women leadership provides not only motivations but encourage to the other women and younger women, actually youth of the country, who want to contribute to STEM domains in the water technology and environmental sustainable areas. Their innovative contribution also that has led cleaner water treatment process and a more responsible approach to managing the electronic waste, other technological waste, wastewater, industrial waste, and many others from waste water resources. So, moreover, these leadership serves as an inspiration for many other women aspiring to make a difference in STEM fields related to water and wastewater technologies, as well as environmental sustainability. I hope you will agree, Fauziya, with me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I surely agree with you. And on that, I would also like to share, because India yesterday successfully launched Chandrayaan-3 mission, and there were 54 female engineers and scientists who worked directly for this mission, including the project director and the mission director, who were women. So yes, and I'm sure Chandrayaan is going to send a lot of data related to water also back to us. So yes, a lot of women are getting involved in science and technology. So with that, I would like to thank my panelists, Suresh, Girija, and Nivedita, for this very exciting and enlightening discussion. We are really tight with schedule. And before I hand over to Mansi, take it forward for the next panel discussion, I would also like to share with you the poll results, because the audience who have participated in the poll would be waiting for that. Just give me a second. Let me just go, yeah. So since you're sharing my screen, let me make it small. So yeah, the first question was, what is the global representation of women in digital information technology, computing, physics, mathematics, and engineering? And as pointed out by Mansi earlier, also she said 1 in 5 women are in the water sector. Likewise, we have 1 in 5 women, and this is the correct answer. 1 in 5 women actually are right now in the digital information technology, but it definitely holds a lot of scope for us. The second question, I'm showing you the response, but I think the discussion on that, I would rather like my co-panelist, co-moderator, Dr. Swayam Prabha, to talk more about it. But over to you, Mansi.
Thank you, Fauziya. Thank you so much for the wonderful discussion in session 1. May I now invite Swayam Prabha Das to really take up the session 2, and maybe we are really looking forward to more discussion on this. Yeah, Swayam, over to you.
Thank you, Fauziya. Thank you, Mansi, for setting the stage for the second panel. As we have seen that, there are very fewer policies for women in the rural water sanitation programs. So the second panel is actually going to focus on social innovations for water challenges, policy intervention, shifts towards conservation and sustainable use, and partnerships for water security, which also involves the community, who are an integral part of this entire discourse. Women's voices are seldom heard in the policy spaces and at decision-making areas. Yet, we have excellent women examples of women leading the cause for conservation, sustainable use in all aspects. We are today joined by 3 eminent water sector experts who have worked closely with the communities and influenced policies in their sphere of influence. So Dr. Vishal Narayan, he joins us, and he's a professor.
I'm not hearing Swayam. Swayam, you are on mute.
Sorry, my apology. So I'll just introduce our panelist, Dr. Vishal Narayan. He's a professor at Management Development Institute, Gurgaon. Ms. Sonia Gupta, she is with the Peter Bishop, Professor of Urban Design at WICCI University in Telangana. and Dr. Sophia Khan. She's the Deputy Director, Shriram Institute for Industrial Research, and she also works on policy on social inclusion for women. Their brief bios are in the chat boxes for everyone. My first question is to Sonia. Sonia, you work with the communities and you are an ardent advocate for rainwater harvesting. Can you please share from your experience, please? Over to you.
Yes, Swayam, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Namaskar. It's a wonderful pleasure and honor to be on this panel. Yes, so rainwater, it's catching it where it falls and using it for literally all the purposes is possible. And we know that it's not new, but it needs a rudimentary treatment, because all we need to do is clean the debris from the surface where it falls. And it is just that we need to show communities how to do this. Maybe traditionally it was there, but in urban communities it is lost. So we just teach them, maybe guide them into doing this. It's very simple. Rainwater is pure, except in very highly industrial areas. And this can be done with improvised first flush systems. Not every system works everywhere. So that is where we come in, a little bit of technology and a little bit of push. And demonstration of this to communities really helps. It opens up the ability to catch the rainwater, either recharge it or use it directly. So yes, that's what I've been able to do. And thankfully, that has been a snowball effect. Do it in one community and others pick up. So that has been really very nice experience. And the second thing that we observed, studied, was a circular model. In Kolkata, India, when I say circular, I mean it's a resource recovery system. That is also traditionally known. That is, an integrated wetland system whereby wastewater is discharged, even industrial wastewater, discharged into a stream of ponds. It goes, treatment is only with lime and plant species. So what happens is it goes, this system gives rise to an organic aquaculture system. Now, this aquaculture actually gives rise to not only inexpensive water treatment, it gives rise to employment, to income generation, food security for poorest communities, and then it moves towards making a community financially and socially supporting each other. So we studied this, and it was possible to emulate this, even partially with other locations. And yes, so that was also a wonderful experience, being able to handhold for a while with the communities. Yes, sir. Over to you.
That sounds really amazing and pretty intense, I'm sure that would have been. So now I would like to ask Sophia, who is also a scientist, and she's working in the water sector for a long, long time. So Sophia, how is it that you change around to you? And can you also share a bit about your work with the community? And as a women scientist, how do you build that up? Over to you, Sophia.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Swam, and good morning to the very wonderful all the panelists over here. A very good morning to each and everyone. So first of all, I advocate the gender equality and the social inclusion in the water management. And I got a wonderful opportunity to being as a scientist, professor, and entrepreneur to work at a Banasli Vidyapeeth, which is the world's largest residential women university. So I got the opportunity to work closely with the very young women scientists as well as the entrepreneur. So first of all, I bring the change surrounding by mentoring them, the young woman, by incorporating so many of the programs and mentorship. As already discussed, that mentorship is like a challenge at all these levels. We don't have any very good role models. So what I did, first of all, I conducted and initiated and motivated our young students to take the water as their research area. And I advocate them. There are a lot of already the fellowships and the scholarships available at the national and the international level, but they are not very well aware about this. So I created the awareness program as well as mentored them personally to take all these challenges and ignite their passion to take the water as a main subject for their research as well as for the entrepreneurship. As I understand that you can lead only by your example. So by taking this, I was incorporating the innovation because that university has situated in the fluoride endemic zone, and I've worked on the incorporate the innovation aspect in the fluoride removal technology. So with the lots of the women scientists in my group and team, with lot of failures, and at the last we got very successes too, and we have founded the Ramblins Water Technologies Private Limited. It is a spin-out company that is creating the change and creating the opportunities for the women scientists, not only in the highly specialized scientific domain, but it is also creating the opportunities for the women in the local communities. So that is an important area that I have done. And secondly, being as a professor, I have established the Center for Excellence Water and Energy, so that so many of the women students and scientists can join hands with us to work on the STEM, especially in the water domain. So I especially advocate the gender equality and the inclusion, especially in the water sector. And at every level, I try at the level of my best. So how I can lead a change in my surrounding area, and especially in the water and in this research, there are a lot of the technology that has to come up to the last user level, and there are different challenges. And without role models in front of us, we cannot reach at that level. So my another point is that you can bring the changes in the surrounding area, you just by setting your own examples. So I making the policy at every level where the woman, especially the woman in the STEM, facing so much of challenges. So the point is that let's work together towards a world where water policies, especially in the STEM, truly reflects the need and the aspiration for all, regardless of the gender. And my dream is to see the lots of women should join science, and whatever I can do in the whatever capacity I am doing at the level of my best. Thank you, Swam.
Thank you so much. We are now joined with Dr. Vishal Narayan, and he's going to talk to us about how he's also bringing about a change through his work, and what are the innovative ways that you are applying through your research, Dr. Narayan. Over to you.
Thank you, Swam Prabha, and good afternoon to everyone. So I'll talk about a few things that I've been engaged with. So one is that, in partnership with the many NGOs and academic institutes in South Asia, we've been involved in many transdisciplinary research projects where, along with the academic research, we work closely with communities to improve their access to water, to improve their access to water-related information. And a lot of this is done by improving the accountability of water service providers who are engaged in providing water services to the community. So that is one. But more specifically, speaking in relation to the theme of this session, so I have been part of a large consortium, a network of regional organizations that are consciously trying to bring more female students and train them as interdisciplinary water professionals, so that in the future we have more women, manning or womaning the water bureaucracies than we see now. The third thing is in terms of assessing to what extent gender and social inclusion are reflected in water curricula. So, conventionally, our water resources education has been dominated by engineering, has had a very technical focus. And I've been working closely with several institutes in South Asia and other consortia to reorient the water curricula to reflect aspects of gender and social inclusion, so that the next breed of water professionals is not gender blind, but looks at water also from a gendered lens. And the final thing that I would like to talk about is my engagement in a lot of training and capacity building programs of researchers, of students, and also of the bureaucracy, of the hydrocracy, to build a perspective on gender. So a lot of our water professionals are trained mainly as engineers, but they don't have a lens that allows them to look at gender and social inclusion in their work. So it's very necessary, I think, to reorient water professionals to bring in a perspective of gender, so that water policies and programs are not gender neutral, but gender sensitive. So those are broadly my areas of engagement. Thank you.
Indeed, that's quite a bit of work that you've been doing, and interconnectedness of the water sector is very important, and especially how we bring our young policymakers, young scientists to the forefront is very important. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I now come back to Sonia again. Sonia, you would have also faced similar challenges, right? It's not easy. So how did you address them? How did you avert them? How did you overcome those challenges in your work area? Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Swayam. You know, that those are questions you'd rather avoid, but of course, in this forum, I think we can talk about that. So I'm not going into challenges like what do you do with the waste that is being collecting under ponds? No, those are all easily solved. The actual challenge I recognize at two levels. One is, and believe it or not, it's a resistance from the community itself. When I walked in blind, you know, to the communities and thinking, hey, I've got a water solution for you, I thought they'll accept it with open arms. They did not. There was a lot of resistance. And so that needed, you know, counseling and counseling at every level, all the age groups, and, you know, explaining what it is in there for them, what is in there for me. That was why are you doing this? You know, so from this really had to be a very slow process. Both the rainwater harvesting or the community waste recovery system took a lot of time. And yes, not surprisingly, it was the women who were converted first, and they convinced the entire family that yes, we can, you know, do this experiment, take it forward. And the second challenge that I recognize is from the authorities themselves. So who are these authorities? They are the ones who supply the centralized water system. They are the authorities who take away, you know, the water and treat it in our centralized water system. So this is a greater challenge I felt, because it was kind of silent, anonymous, kind of an invisible challenger. So having worked, I realized the way to deal with this challenge was passive and also community driven. So you wait for the model to be successful, and then the community itself slowly moves away, you know, from that centralized system and offsets a requirement. So that's the only way that changeover could be done. And yeah, that's how we tackled our challenges. Yes, well.
Fabulous. And it's a step-by-step process. So you are not jumping and you're not moving, you know, it's not a leap, it's one-to-one.
No, you cannot hurry. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Now, Sophia, tell me, as a young scientist, how was it? Did you also face similar challenges, like Sonia said, that, you know, bringing on the communities on board was a lot of trouble? How did you deal with your systems and the processes around you? And how do you also bind with, you know, bring your work to the communities and to the policymakers? Let's hear from you, Sophia.
Yeah. Thank you, Swam. The similar problems I have also faced at the I have faced two problems. First, on the personal level of any woman scientist, and second, at the community level. The level of the resistance I have seen is so huge that you have to break two seals. First, from your insight, that you have to think limitless, that you can do and that you can achieve anything. And second is from the social stigmas and the stereotype, that you have to break your the stereotypes. And again, I'm saying that there are hurdles at every level. So for example, I can say that I have involved from last 20 years in the fluoride removal technologies and the water, and have worked from the ideation to the commercialization. So at every level, we have faced the challenges. But what I did, that I make the policies at every level. I involved at every level. For example, when I was very young and got married, I faced the challenges to like rear and dear and nurture my family. So at that time, I have given my suggestion to the DST, DBT. Now you can see that there are a lot of policies who is favoring the woman and re-entering the woman in the sciences. Unfortunately, all this information has not been like percolated at the tier 2, tier 3 level. I can say a lot of information at very superficial level. So I conducted the workshops, and I initially initiated so many of the programs for the women scientists, so that they could be able to understand that what are the opportunities are still available, those they should grab. The first level is that. Second, I have faced the budgetary problems. Like, you, for doing good science, you need a good amount of the money. From where you get the money? For ideation, there is a level of difference from government grant, from corporates, from other innovations, you have to go for different things. So the another things that the female change, that how you write to have a very writing of a very successful grant proposals. So second point I did that I trained the women scientists that how they could get the maximum funds for their research. Second, I meant third level, how to convert all their technologies to the innovation and to the larger level. So I make the policies for the innovation. Suppose I been in the Banasli Vidyapeeth for being as a professor. So I have formulated the faculty entrepreneurship policy for the innovation also. So all these kind of policies I have placed, I have make the changes. And at the policy level also, I have make change. Suppose for the grants that we are running in our courses. So I have instructed to tell the government and other funding agencies that it should be unstructured. So there are various levels. First, at the how you attract and get the grant, and second, how you run a successful project. So on both these levels, I
Great. Thank you so
made
much,
the
Sophia.
policies. Yeah. So I make the things, all these things, and I make the
Yes.
awareness programs, because whatever I did, for example, National Academy of Sciences, I created, I launched and the fluoride awareness program in the surrounding villages and the communities, so that people could more aware and we could connect to the last users, what is the challenge and what could be the best solution for that. So at every
Thank you
level.
so much, Sophia. And
Yeah.
that's great. And I'm sure you would have many more challenges and many more victories. And we'll hold it on for a next conversation, right?
Yeah.
So now I'd like to ask Vishal. Vishal, working on gender and women issues with women on water, as a man, it would have been really challenging, right? So how did you conduct your research? Did you get all those kind of support? And how was the capacity building training programs that you did? And we're just running short of time, so if you can be really, really quick. Thank you.
Perfect. So thank you. So I'm going to be very brief. So one is, as you said, that being a man working on gender is also a form of marginalization in itself. So I'm often the only man on an all-woman panel. Today, of course, I'm joined by Suresh, which is quite a pleasant surprise. But yes, but as I said, that exploring gender in the field is not always very easy, and I have my own constraints in approaching and talking to women, especially in a village. And often when I want to interview a woman, I am direct to their husbands or fathers-in-law, saying that why don't you interview her husband and why don't you talk to her father-in-law? He will give you the answers. And then I say, no, I have to talk to her. It's her interview that I have to do. So that's a very practical constraint. Of course, working with communities is challenging, and when you're trying to unravel social and power differences, they don't appear so easily. It's always a very long, prolonged period of engagement. In the beginning, they will tell you, no, we don't fight over water, we live very peacefully. But it takes a long period of engagement to figure out that that's not really true. So I think that's the second element. Having said that, I would also say that there is a very poor understanding of gender in our society. Even knowing the difference between words like sex, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, people use these words as if they meant the same thing. And I think that's one reason why possibly we don't make as much progress on gender mainstreaming as we would have liked to see. And the other challenge always in, especially when you do capacity building programs of engineers, who are engaged in water provisioning, is in dealing with the very, very deeply entrenched patriarchal attitudes. So often you're told that, why are we trying to tamper with gender? What is nature's law should be allowed to remain nature's law. And then you have to tell them that there's nothing natural about gender. It's a social construct. And that's how the difference between, gender and sex is relevant. And finally, I would say that there's also a tendency to talk about women as if they were one homogeneous whole, as if there's a monolith, rather than recognizing the differences among women. So while we talk of women in leadership positions, we should also ask, which women, which kinds of women? Are we getting more and more diverse women to come into leadership roles, or is it just the socially elite women who are taking that role? So I think those are things that we need to grapple with harder and work around. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There are so many challenges, but it is always heartening to see that we are all waking up slowly and steadily.
Sure.
And women play a central part in the provisioning, management, and safeguarding of water. And so it's very important that the policies needs to adopt not only address the specific needs of women with regards to water, but also empower them to participate at all levels in water resource management, be it decision-making, implementation, provisioning. So there's a lot that remains to be done. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this. And I now hand this over back to Mansi. Over to you, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swen. Thank you so much. We are running late, so we have to now discipline ourselves. May I now invite our young moderator for the question and answer with all the participants. Shivam Singh, please unmute yourself and the floor is yours, and try to moderate it as compact as you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And it was great to listen to all the learned professionals over here. I would just like to quickly share two of my experiences that I had in the recent past. So I started my work in 2017, and we were working in 4 villages in Pet area for rainwater harvesting. And out of these 4 villages, in one village, we had a woman sarpanch. And whatever time I spent there, almost 4 months, I could easily tell that she was the one who was the most proactive. She was the one who was not only interested in rainwater harvesting, but she was also interested in waste management, menstrual hygiene. And the second experience is about, me working with a very close friend of mine, Pooja Tendulkar. She works in Pune. And she's also the only professional that I know who's working in the water sector in the Pune district as a solution provider to a water crisis. So what she does is she is specializing into natural water body rejuvenation, and she loves it. But the important part of that is that she is not only involved with it, but that is her bread and butter as well. So I would like to put forward 2 things from these 2 experiences. One is the platform and the trust that do we have it on the women, and the second one will be the in sync between the career opportunities and the field itself. So that will also be the base for my question, and I would like to put forward this as one of my question to Fauzia ma'am, and that is about the career aspect. So we are talking about we have very less women representation in the water sector, but I'll say the water career opportunities in the water section itself is a bit on the lighter side. So what will be the way forward if you would like to increase that career in sync between the water professionals and women and youth in general?
Thanks, Shivam. Thank you. You've surprised me with that question. And being a teacher, for a while, I think I would love to really address that. I think water, Vishal was earlier mentioning about it, it's viewed from an engineering lens. So it always fell under the civil engineering domain. And a lot of work around that was field-based. And women were normally apprehensive. That's why in joining the civil engineering career, but even when they joined the civil engineering career, they wanted to get into more of consultancy assignments rather than getting into more of, I would say, field-based assignments. So that's how it limited their representation in the practical aspects of the water. But now I think more and more women are coming into civil engineering, and the spaces also, I would say, are becoming more women friendly, and they're sort of more welcoming. But that is to do with the engineering sector. But there are institutes like Terry School of Advanced Studies we have, and we have Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which are also running programs, interdisciplinary programs, which are also looking at governance, which are also looking at legal aspect of water. And we do see a large number of women taking up those programs as well. So I would say that in due course of time, we would definitely have more representation of women. We still have a lot of them, but maybe across all sectors. Some of our girls, for instance, have joined cement industry like Ultratech, or there are girls who have joined civil society organizations like Solidaridad and working on demand side water management. So we do see that change happening. Over to you, Shivam.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was so enlightening. And my second question will be to Mansi ma'am, and this is in regards with the I'll say trust and transition towards youth. So one problem that I kept on facing is that people are not still able to trust the youth with responsibilities. So my question to you will be, what can be that platform
I think and I feel if I look at in comparison to how I was 20 years, 30 years ago, and what is going on today, I feel a huge difference. We have come a long way if we have to talk about presence of women and participation of women in the water sector and other sectors as well, as Fazia mentioned about India's mission landing on moon. So I think it's about engendering water, which is a slow process because we have to also understand the patriarchal society we live in. So water is just one sector where we are talking about. So it's not going to just change in the water sector, but it has to change across the society. But I am quite hopeful. I work with more than 20 young fellows who are mentored by me. Most of them are women. And I see the fire in them, I must say, or water in their belly. And they are really ready to go. And we have our two fellows here who have been the backbone why we are able to organize this session. And I must thank them at this point in time, Anubhuti Shekhar and Harshita Sehgal, and many of them who are part of our foundation and council. And out of the 93 council members, by the way, we have 20 council members who are young people like you. So I'm quite hopeful about it. Over to you, Shiva.
Yeah, so I'll take this one final question. That is about, can the SC, Supreme Court and NGT ban on abuse of ROUV technology? So I would like to pose.
Yeah, that's a question actually not on gender. So maybe we can take a call, me being the moderator, and we are running out of time. So I will actually request the participant who has asked this question that we meet outside the panel and talk about it. And I think we just focus on the gender aspect of it. So thank you, Shivam, for the last panel's part of it. And let me now invite Dr. Sabita Madhvi Singh to do the keynote speech and reflect upon what we did in the panel and also really enlighten us what Government of India really thinks about women in the water sector, because you are representing in a way Government of India's way of looking at women in the water sector. Over to you, Dr. Sabita. Sabita, can you unmute yourself? Okay. Is anyone seeing Sabita? Because I'm just trying to locate her. Sabita?
No, it's from the host side. It's going to.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for all for joining this session, and I'm really glad to see the women who is talking about the women leadership and about the challenges, initiatives, and everything, and how we can come over with this. Because when we talk about the government take initiative for the women water leadership, especially in the water sector, so it's often said when we talk about the country growth and everything, when you build a woman, you build a nation. And this is really goes with most of our schemes we're implementing in the different in the JJM or other Manrega scheme, and it really works. I will discuss few of those cases here in a few moments. And I like to thank Fazia and Swamprabha, which really coded very well about the brief and challenges, and also advocacy about the policies. Because government is promoting this schemes, but you are the people who is really working with the grassroots level, who can really get connected with all the bridge gap between us. So, like Lawton said in the initially, with the help of CV, Ministry of Jal Shakti have started this initiative for the Women Water Championship in 2021, where they underscore the critical role of women for the women in water conservation and management, and promote water leadership in the water sector. Through this, 41 women were contributed at the grassroots level and felicitated by their contribution by the government of India. And that is this all exercise is done by the CV and Ministry of Jal Shakti. And this kind of training programs, we see the changes in the women attitude and their towards the achieving this goal for save nature, save water, save life, and the treasure women. This kind of concept and vision they develop at the grassroots level. And when we're talking about seven decade of the independence of the country, still a gender balance is an issue. Even I face is when we talk about the top management here, in the water sector, in the ministry also, it's a very hardly it's 10% people are working as a women in the top. So it's still issue is there, but we have to take a call on this, how we can promote ourselves, how we can fit in ourselves with the education, with the advocacy, with the help of our own eagerness. And this happens I'll quote one of the JJM case study, where JJM was implementing in one of the Assam Darang district. There is 60 village is there in that district, and the water quality was with the polluted due to arsenic. And due to women, they feel like their water is not fitted for their kids and for themselves to consume it. So all the women's, they started talking about about the water quality and sanitation about this, and they all working together. When 9 out of 9 ground panchayat people, 7 are women's, and they taken the lead. And now it's a successful district where they are come up with this kind of issues addressed by the women. So when even other schemes also, there's no time to discuss here, I guess. But this is the where their own desires and motivations really bring the change on the ground. And these are the women leaders in the water sector, especially when the farmers are there, different avatar, panchayat members are there, and the Manrega people, extension workers, they really work hard in this water sector, especially in the ground. So I congratulate all the team, those who are working on this gap, and from the government of India, I can contribute in this. What kind of initiative can be taken for the women leaders? Thank you all.
Thank you, Sabita. Thank you so much for being so, crisp and direct to tell us what's going on there, so that it is also motivating for us. It is my honor and pleasure for WICCI WRC to really have all of you as eminent panelists, and also you all are our council members. So we really look forward to building this platform for partnership towards leadership. This is where we actually reached out to CV WFG to really help us in mentoring us in building it. So we take two important takeaways from today's session, which is need for more women role models and need for mentoring more women and men for engendering the water sector, which we are trying to do in our little way through conversations as an approach, both through WICCI WRC and W for W Foundation, where we run our water conversations. More than 200 conversations are there. So now, lastly, first, I thank all the participants who have joined this session and make this conversation meaningful for us. Your support and encouragement really means a lot. Then I thank Lawton for really being here and also mentoring all through these months to really have this session here. Well, and all the 12 panelists and Fauzia and Swayam to conduct it. Shivam for really coming up as a young scholar and helping us. And yes, Sabita, you really give us a hope that there is a good way to go forward for, for being part of this session. And lastly, my fellows, Anubhuti and Harshita, without whom this session would not have been possible. Rest when we meet soon somewhere physically and digitally. Please take care of yourself, and goodbye to all of you. And I'm really sorry that we are late by 2 minutes, but that is what is IST, which is Indian Standard Time, and we were better in that. Thank you so much, all of you. Please take care.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mansi.
Thanks, Mansi, for bringing us together.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mansi.
Thanks.
We can take
you.
a group
Bye-bye,
picture
everyone.
of us,
Yeah, we can take
grid
one
picture.
picture.
That will be nice, yeah.